Hello everyone, welcome to the walkthrough video of the multiple meetings and notes KPI dashboard templates. If you haven't purchased this template, I will leave a link in the description box so you can go ahead and grab your copy. When you purchase the template, the first tab you would see is the instructions tab. Here you can find my contact information as well as a detailed step-by-step guide that will help you get started with using this template. Before we go over the demo copy of this template, I want to show you what it looks like when you purchase it. After the instructions tab, here's what the setup tab looks like. It does have placeholder data, as you can see. You can delete all of the data here and add in your own. I'll show you how to do it when we go over the demo copy, but this is what it's going to look like when you purchase it. The next tab is the dashboard tab, and as you can see, it's mostly blank, but there will be some data that is flowing in from the placeholder data from the meeting notes, but you can delete everything and get started with your own information. It comes with two meeting tabs just to give you something to work with, but like I will show you in the demo copy, this tab can be duplicated as many times as you need. Here is what the meeting tab looks like. Again, some placeholder data just to give you an idea of where things go. So you see things like the date and the time and one name and attendance record that has been entered. All of these can easily be deleted so you can enter in your own information. I'm going to switch over to the demo copy to show you how it works. Alright, so we are in the demo copy in the setup tab. The first table in the setup tab is the attendance table. Here is where you would enter in all of the variables that you need to show up in the drop downs to track attendance. So things like present, absent, excused, late. All of these, by the way, can be deleted, and you can type in the information that works for your own specific needs. The same goes for the status. It does have pre-filled placeholder options, but you can delete what is here and type in specific statuses that you want to keep track of. The next section is where you would add in your meeting tab names. As you can see, we have meeting 1 through 7. And if you look down here in the tab area, we have meeting 1 through 7. For these templates to work, meaning for the information in the meeting areas to be transferred into the dashboard, the names here in the tabs have to match the names here. You will have to add this manually, but all you need to do is type in your meeting name. It doesn't have to be meeting 1 through 7. It could be whatever name you want to give your meeting. So let's say weekly staff meeting 8. What we need to do now is to create a tab that we can add this meeting name to. So we'll go to meeting number 7, duplicate that tab, and then double click here and paste in the name that we just added to our setup tab. Click enter, and as long as these two names match, everything from this meeting will carry over into the dashboard tab. You can use it for as few or as many meetings as you need. You do have 60 slots to enter 60 different meeting tabs. However, keep in mind that Google Sheets will get slower the more tabs you had. The next area is where you would add your meeting attendee names or your meeting participant names. You can add up to 90 names. However, if you need to add more, all you need to do is click in this last column, right click, and do insert column left. When you do this, it introduces an additional column, so you have 30 more name slots, and doing it this way also ensures that this column appears in the drop-down area where you need to select the meeting attendees. The next tab is the dashboard tab. I'm going to skip over this and come back to it after we've gone over the meeting tabs. All right, so here is the first meeting tab. I'll go over it section by section, starting here. The first section is a link to take you back to your dashboard, and this will be helpful when you have multiple tabs in this template. By the way, another easy way to navigate from tab to tab would be to go to this icon right here that says all sheets. When you click on it, you should be able to scroll all the way down to select the tab that you need to go to. This section is where you add the meeting dates, start and end time. And I'm going to delete this so you can see how to add it from scratch. All right, so to add a dates, double click in this section and let's say today's dates. To add a start time, all you need to do is type in the time, but you have to type in AM or PM so it maintains the time format. So if the meeting starts at 9 a.m., type 9 a.m. Or if it's something like 9:30, you would type 9 column 30 a.m. All right, and then it automatically will be formatted to the time format because you've added AM. And the same thing with end time, 11 a.m. And here's what it looks like. The duration of the meeting will be calculated automatically, so you don't need to do anything here. The next section is where you enter your meeting participants, and I'll delete these so I can show you how to enter it from scratch. All right, so to enter in the participant name, you can double click and select the name from the drop down, or you can start typing either the last name or the first name. So let's say I want to select Ashley Wilson. All I need to do is type Ashley, or I can type Wilson and the name comes up, and then I can select the attendance status. Let's do Emily. All right, and enter her attendance status. If you have a short list, it might be easier to just double click and select the name that you need to select. In this middle section, you would add in your meeting title, your meeting objectives, your agenda items, and track your action items. Now, here is where you would add in your specific meeting title. By the way, this meeting title does not necessarily have to match the name of the tab. So this meeting tab is called meeting number 1. If you want to call it meeting number 1 as well, or whatever name that you're giving it, it's fine. But if you want to keep the title more specific, you can do so as well. The only thing that has to match is the tab name and the name entered into the setup tab. That is all. You can title the meeting whatever you want. Here is where you enter a meeting objective. The next area is where you will type in all of your agenda items. All right. And then you can type in the duration that you expect the agenda item to be discussed and who is responsible for that agenda item. And the drop down here is also tied to the participant that we have entered into the setup tab. This is the action item section. Here is where you'll type in all of your action items and select the status that you want to assign to the action item. Double click to assign a due date. And again, you can select a person that's responsible for the action item. And then you can assign a specific person from your list to that action item. The last area is where you would type in your meeting notes. You can type up to 2 lines of text per row. If you feel like you need more space, you can go ahead and increase the width of the column. Hover around the end of the column and just drag it to the right. Or you can click into that column, right click on resize and increase it from 800 to let's say 1000 and hit enter. And you should have a little bit more room to type in your note. The rest of the meeting tabs work exactly the same way. They are completely identical, because to create a new tab, all you need to do is duplicate one of these tabs. So when you first get started with this template, my recommendation would be to leave one tab blank and use this tab to create a new copy every time you need a fresh meeting template. This will only be used for creating new meeting copies. All right, so let's go over to our dashboard tab. We'll go over it section by section. The dashboard tab has 3 general sections. These 2 areas would be one section. This is a meeting specific section, meaning that all of the data here would be tied to the meeting that we select in this drop down. Then we have this middle area, and this is going to give us information for all of the tabs that we have entered into this template. This last section right here is participant or attendee specific information. So let's go back here and see how it works. So now we have meeting 1 selected here. We're not really seeing anything here. And that's because, remember, this blank meeting tab used to be meeting 1. So when we select meeting 1, nothing's showing up because there's no meeting 1 here for the formula to read. So let's change meeting number 2. Let's change that to meeting number 1. Okay. All right. And then when we go to the dashboard tab, now you can see information shows up because the formula is able to connect this name here, which has been entered into the setup tab, and connects it to this name here. We can select weekly staff meeting 8. All right, because it shows up here, and then it displays the information from weekly staff meeting 8. When we select the tab name here, the meeting title automatically shows up. So let me make a change here. Let's go to weekly staff meeting 8 and let's just say board meeting. All right, so that's the meeting title. When we go to our dashboard, you can see that the meeting title shows up here and the meeting objective. All right, I'm just typing in random letters. So when we go to the dashboard, you can see that the meeting objective is filtered here. So everything in this area would be very specific to whatever we enter into the tab that we have selected here. So you can see that it shows you the date we had the meeting, how long the meeting was, and how many agenda items we had for that meeting. We also can track attendance metrics, so how many participants we had, how many were present, absent, and excused. You can only display 3. So even though in the setup tab, as you can see, you can add up to 6 different criteria, in the dashboard tab, you can only display 3. So if you don't want to use present, absent, and excused, let's say you're using other verbiage, go ahead and just select the ones that you want to display. Just know that you can only display 3 here, but you can display whatever you want. So let's say you want to do late instead of present, select that and it will display the number of participants that were late. So we have present, absent, and excused based on information that is displayed in this table. Okay, and then this section here is a summary of the action items. All right, so if we go to this tab, the only status we have for action items is not started, which is why in the dashboard, all of them shows up as not started. Let's make some changes. In progress, completed, other, and let's see what it looks like now. So now when we go back to the dashboard tab, you can see we have different statuses displaying here in the proportions that we have entered. All right, so here we have action item metrics. We have the number of action items not started, in progress, completed. Same thing with what we did here. You could only show 3, but you can select what you want to show. So if you only want to display other 1, 2, and 3, or whatever it is that you have called these, remember you can modify these in the setup tab. It will display that summary here. And then the graph here would reflect what is displayed in this table. If you want to see the specific action items, so not just the summary data, but the actual action items for that meeting, it would be displayed here. You can filter it by status. So click on this drop down, it displays the different action item statuses. So if we click on not started, it will display the action items that have been assigned to that status. So action item 5 and number 6 are not started. So if we go back to this tab, you can see action item 5 and 6 are not started. If you do have a long list of action items, this area can be expanded. So go ahead and click on the plus icon right here. And this gives you a little bit more space to display a longer list of action items. Okay. And this is the general meeting KPI dashboard. So here you see the number of meetings you have to date. We have 7 meetings, the average meeting duration, average attendance, and the average number of agenda items, and the average number of action items. And here you can see a summary of the attendance for each meeting. For example, how many people were present for all of the meetings that you have. If we add more meetings to this template, it would automatically update this graph to include more meeting tab names. The same goes for the action items. So you can see how many action items are not started, in progress, or completed based on the different meetings. All right, and then finally, we have this section that is dedicated to a specific meeting attendee. So if you want to get information for this person, let's say Emily White, what their attendance score is for all of the meetings, you can see their percentage attendance score, how many times they've been assigned an agenda item, and how many times they've been assigned an action item. So for this specific attendee, she has attendance score 57.1, which is greater than the average. All right, so here's the average. Her agenda responsibility, she's not been assigned any agenda responsibility. Let's change that. Let's go back to meeting, staff meeting number 8, and we're going to assign her an agenda. So if we go back here, now you can see that her agenda responsibility has been increased. So now it's at 12.5. Action item responsibility is at 16.7. All right, and then here is her attendance summary for all meetings. So how many times she's been present, absent, and excused. And then here is the action items that has been assigned to her, but this is not for all the meetings. This is also meeting specific. So if you want to see how many action items she has been assigned to weekly meeting staff 8, because that's the name of the meeting we have selected here. All right, you can see it's listed here. And you could also filter this by status. So not started, in progress, completed, etc. So the only difference between the information here and here is that this would show the information for all meetings, while right here will only display the action item for the meeting name that we have selected here. So if you want to see the action items assigned to this employee for meeting number 1, change this to meeting number 1. And then when we go here, it shows you the action items assigned to this employee for meeting number 1, which in this case, we have nothing for in progress. All right. And we have 2 for completed. All right, so that is the end of the walkthrough video. Like I said before, you can get started with this template by going through the step-by-step guide here. If you have any additional questions, my contact information can be found here. And finally, if you haven't purchased this template, I will leave a link in the description box so you can go ahead and check it out. Thank you so much for watching.